say that and nobody knows the heck you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I remember those 90 references because we're about the same age. All right, we should be live. Hello and welcome, everyone, for the second stream of the day on the Tone Vays YouTube channel. It is saying we are 5 minutes away, but we should be live. Let me double check that. There we are. Yep, we are live. And yeah, welcome back. Let's get an audio and video check. I think the video is good. And I am back on with Ben Davidson. Earlier today, I did a quick 30-minute chat with Kat, who manages Observer Ranch. And Ben, you recently rebranded to SpaceWeatherNews from Suspicious Observers.
Long time coming. Long time coming.
And yeah, the YouTube channel is doing great. You have your 800,000 plus subscribers, lots of views. And last time I saw you was 9 months ago, back in September, at the ranch during your 2-day event. This was a 1-day pole shift conference, which we brought out a couple of friends there as well. I know a few could make it, so next time, guys. And we're going to do a follow-up on what's happened in the world from a astrogeophysics perspective with Ben since the last time we chatted. Please look at the video description. If you are seeing Ben for the very first time, I recommend you pause the video, go back to watch my interview with Ben from 9 months ago, then check out the homework and the playlist in my YouTube description of pre-selected Ben's videos to get caught up on the situation. Ben, do a quick intro, then we're going to play the trailer to your upcoming documentary, which I was interviewed for, so I may make it as a observer that comes out and finds it interesting. We'll see if I make the final cut. It's up to the directors. But Ben, do a quick intro while I set up the trailer.
Sounds fantastic. My name is Ben Davidson. I am the director of the documentary, so it'll be my decision whether or not we see Tone. I hope you did well. Otherwise,
we'll find out.
Otherwise, we're going to look back at this and it'll be a little awkward. The channel is SpaceWeatherNews. I am the co-founder of Observer Ranch, and I study space weather, Earth's magnetic field, galactic physics, and how these things come together to affect our day-to-day life and the Earth over longer periods of time. And it just so happens we are rapidly approaching a pivot point in the confluence of all of these influential factors on our planet. So that's basically what we talked about last time.
We did.
We did.
We're not going to get into the details this time. We're just going to talk about as if you guys know exactly what's going on.
Absolutely.
But since that last stream, I know I've had some criticism thrown my way. So I would like for you to just do a little background how you got into geophysics, because your background is, I think, legal in the beginning. And how did you get into this? And then my explanation is it's about how smart people are and what they're passionate about. I started out as a geologist, and then I ended up doing quantitative math on Wall Street. So it's completely different fields.
Right. So I started off as a dual physics and meteorology major. I had a rough interaction with a professor at Penn State, some of you may have heard of, named Michael Mann, and stepped away from science after that for a little bit. I did get a law degree. It is one of several degrees that I have, but I never lost my love of science, and I have never practiced law a day in my life. I figured out that research was what I wanted to be doing while I was in law school. And I can pretty confidently say when it comes to interdisciplinary research, weaving things together, there is nobody like a lawyer for that. That's just the honest truth. It helps that I am a speed reader and I have a mild form of hyperthymesia. Hyperthymesia is the thing where you don't forget stuff. I don't have the major version where I can tell you what the fifth word is on page 217 on a book I read when I was 12 years old. But if something is impactful on my life, I will never forget a single detail of it. And it just so happens that my life is about Earth's disaster cycle, the sun's effect on the Earth, the galaxy's effect on the sun, and how all of that impacts our daily life. So I'm not sure what criticism you got, but
yeah, well, we covered that already.
fantastic.
Okay, so I'm gonna play. I know I played it earlier today. I'm gonna play it again because these videos are kind of standalone. This is a quick trailer. I sped it up by a quarter. I can probably speed it up a little bit more. Most people watch me on 2x anyway, so it's okay. We're gonna play this real quick. This is a documentary that's being filmed. Hopefully it comes out before the end of the year. And I can't wait to watch it. I'm gonna be on the premiere list.
Strong solar storm hitting Earth could produce northern lights in the U.S. this weekend. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration issued a rare severe geomagnetic storm warning.
In the recent decades, the position of the magnetic poles has been moving very rapidly.
It might not be something you usually think about when we talk about severe weather, but it has the capability to disrupt our society. I'm talking about space weather.
When you look at the sun and you look at the Earth, the magnetic field of the sun has a dramatic effect on the Earth, even though it's 93 million miles away. We're due for a change, a swap of the magnetic polarity of the Earth. And during that process, it's been suggested that the electromagnetic field around Earth could weaken.
Who was aware that the North Pole is shifting over time? You look at the electromagnetic field around the Earth that is getting weaker and weaker. It looks like we've got 15, maybe 25 years.
Here's what we know. About every 6,000 years, there is a geomagnetic change on our planet. Every other cycle, or every 12,000 years, it's really, really bad.
The Northern Lights were a sight to see over Florida.
When you start seeing auroras down in Florida, okay, we got a problem.
Everybody who could possibly be in the know is acting like they know exactly what's coming.
What do they know that we don't know, right? I mean, they're building these underground apologetics. Is this just a natural human nature towards thinking that these are the end times?
Finally tonight, Branson versus Bezos. Who will be first to make it into space?
You do have a bunker there. Is there something you know that we don't?
No, I think that's just like a little shelter under. It's like a
little shelter. What are you worried about?
The disaster is the complete destruction of what we call civilization. But when it does go off, you're talking about 5,000 degrees Kelvin right here on the surface.
Everybody subconsciously knew something was about to happen. And I think that that's sort of where this Great Awakening is coming from. When this thing really gets going, it's speeding up to 100 times faster than how much it's moving now. 5% per decade, 5% per year, to 5% every couple of weeks. At that point, you only have a couple of months left.
All right, guys, so this video is the first video of the Disaster Cycle playlist that I put together of Ben's videos and our prior interviews. It is in this video's description. Check it out along with a document that I'm gonna update, and I'm just gonna post specific references to his videos on specific topics. So this way you kind of have a roadmap, but you can also check out the link to this document. And it has answers to all these questions because Ben answered them in our last interview, but I will like timestamp stuff and put it in. Okay, time to do a very quick overview. Basically, our magnetic field is weakening and it is speeding up. So since the last time we chatted, Ben, what do you think? Where would you say we are as the strength of the magnetic field? Your best guess, because the government has stopped making this data publicly available like they used to pre-2020.
You know, I mean, moving probably the same amount down that line that you have on there from, I mean, however far we moved from 2020 to 2023, we've probably moved the same amount in the 2.5 years since then. So probably somewhere around, 28, 30% loss of the field, which would be 70% of the full strength we had for most of the last couple thousand years.
Right. And what got me onto Ben's channel to begin with was seeing those. Now, I didn't see them in person, but I saw the headlines of the Northern Lights down in South Florida. I always forget if that was April or May of that was 24.
That was Mother's Day, May of 2024.
May of 24, that caught my attention. I discovered Ben's channel within a month after that. Binge watched a bunch of stuff, learned it, but I have a geology background, so it was maybe a little bit easier for me than the average person. And then I came to visit him in September when we did our first interview. And again, that's referenced in the video description. I want to talk about the more recent news. There was a big blackout in Portugal, part of Spain, and maybe even part of France. And I remember the first news report said that it was related to the sun and related to the weather, and the basically solar flare kind of style. Then within 12 hours of those announcements, they blamed it all on the grid because it was green energy grid, which was surprising because Europe is all about green energy. So they went from, wait a minute, we can't have it blamed on the sun. Let's blame it on the green energy. But wait, we can't actually blame it on green energy. So let's blame it on the setup of the green energy. And that's kind of where we left it. But in a way, it's both, right? So my opinion on this was, okay, so if they never went to green energy, they probably would not have had the blackout. But if we had a strong magnetic field, their green energy would have worked just fine, right? So it's a bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's still listening to the official story at this point, I mean, I don't know what they're even doing watching this live stream, really. It's the kind of thing where we're pretty sure that it was. I mean, do you remember the opening scene of the movie The Core, where it's not about an overall weakening of the magnetic field. It's like a weak spot, like a Swiss cheese like hole that allows a breakthrough.
And it destroyed the San Francisco bridge. Yeah.
Yeah. It's screwed with the ozone.
Yeah.
People's skin was getting burned, and it also caused the EMP that took out people's pacemakers and other things like that.
The birds flying. Yeah, I remember that movie.
It probably wasn't, I mean, it wasn't as extreme as what happened there, although we wouldn't really know because the plasma penetration that I was able to identify on the data, it was over the North Atlantic. I mean, just over the water. So, I mean, maybe it was cooking right there underneath. There's no way to really know. But what we do know is that once that energy hits the top of the sky, the ionosphere, then it's going to flow with the ionospheric waveguide. And it's very clear to see that that was flowing directly into Spain, Portugal, parts of France, things like that, which would have almost certainly caused desync or like sync problems. And even though it might sound weird, there's no difference between a loss of sync and, literally hitting the system with a bolt of lightning. They're both going to do the exact same thing. I mean, if things aren't just lined up perfectly, you might as well hit the system with a bolt of lightning. It's just going to shut down. And so there's no way for that to happen without some kind of introduction of more energy than you're supposed to have. And it was very, very clear. You could see when the plasma penetration was breaking through the weak spot of Earth's magnetic field. And it was literally just minutes after that the blackout happened.
So it's funny you mentioned the movie The Core. So I just got an idea. Let's go through a couple of disaster movies because I've seen them all actually when they were coming out. I like this stuff. The Core, 2012, Day After Tomorrow. I would love to know what they got right and what they got wrong.
Sure. The Core, the first 20, 30, 40 minutes of it, perfect. Absolutely perfect. And then of course they start, messing with unobtainium, and they make the thing that they build the ship that literally goes into the core of the Earth. But the first part where they're talking about what's going wrong, oh my goodness, and then they try to restart the core with nukes at the end of them. I don't even know where to go with that. But the first part of the core, that's what's happening right now, and the plasma breakthrough. An ultraviolet breakthrough because of the plasma destroying the ozone in that opening scene of the core. That's perfectly accurate, and that's what happened to Europe, earlier this year. In terms of Day After Tomorrow,
I really like this movie. In fact, I was a high school teacher for 1 year after I got my geology degree.
I didn't know that.
And I had a geology and math degree. And I actually made my students watch this movie. It came out in 2004. It would have been 2004 when I was teaching, and because I graduated, I'm not sure when I graduated, but it was around that time. And I I made them watch it. They got some facts wrong, like different parts of the atmosphere they misnamed. And but I thought this was very, very interesting that the melting of the ice would disrupt ocean current and instantly cause an ice age.
Yeah. The severity and the speed with which it happened in the movie was necessary for the movie, but it wouldn't quite be as quick. The name for this event is a Heinrich event. Yes, part of it is a collapse of the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, collapse of the Gulf Stream, which is a piece of that Atlantic circulation. But basically, it's the heat transport system that basically makes places like the United States, Canada, most of Europe habitable. It would not be, easily habitable. I mean, okay, you could inhabit it in the same way that people live in far northern Russia, people live in Greenland, things like that. But that's certainly not conducive to the way that the world works. And these heat transport systems are really important. And when they shut down at the exact same time as there's an enormous flux of cold and fresh meltwater from the ice, it is a confluence of events coming together that does cause a very rapid shift to cold. Not quite as fast as in the movie The Day After Tomorrow, but fast enough that there is no adjusting to it in terms of a global population, a global economy, global agriculture, transportation, shipping, things like that. It will happen in the movie it happened in a week or like just a couple of days. We're talking about a couple of months to maybe a year and a half. And while, sitting there looking at your watch, that feels like a long time, in terms of trying to move the giant cruise ship of Earth and our civilization, we don't have that turning radius. You know what I mean? It's exceptionally disruptive.
And this is, I think, the first instance where I've seen discussed, the freezing of the woolly mammoths up in the Siberia region. And how does not only how does a woolly mammoth freeze with food in its mouth, which was mentioned in the movie, the planet was colder at the time of the woolly mammoths. And what the hell were they eating? Because they eat grass.
Yeah, that's one of the most important points I try to make about what's going to happen and what's happening now. They absolutely, up in the Arctic, have found these mammoths. And it's not just food in their mouths, food in their stomachs. And they froze so quickly that the chemical digestion stopped. In my opinion, everybody asks the wrong question. How do you freeze a mammoth so quickly? It's not that the question is uninteresting or irrelevant. The problem is, the better question is, what were they eating? Because they had to dig them out of 20, 30 feet of ice today, recently. And we are 12,000 years into a hot interglacial period. These things were frozen in the glacial period, and they needed to eat 1,000 pounds of vegetation a day. So if there's no vegetation there now and they had to dig them out of 20, 30 feet of ice, what in the world were they doing there? There wasn't thousands of pounds of food for them to be eating. The only way this happens is if they were eating at mid-latitudes, closer to the equator, maybe even low latitudes, and then the planet flipped, putting them at the North Pole to freeze instantly. Because otherwise, they would have had no business being there. There's nothing for them to eat there. They froze in the glacial period. It was colder, more snow, more ice than we have now. And the only way that you can actually reconcile the mammoth evidence is if they were eating actual plant life, and then that part of the world got thrown to the polar region to freeze.
Another thing about The Day After Tomorrow was the tsunami they had there was not like the tsunami in 2012.
No.
And the tsunami in, that was probably a little too unrealistic. But what did 2012 get right? What did they get wrong?
What 2012 got right is the fact that it is a shift of the magnetic poles. It is a shift of the geographic poles, and major tsunamis are going to hit pretty much every coastline. They did not do enough in terms of the radiation problem that you get with losing Earth's magnetic field.
And they didn't have the sun's micronova.
And no, they didn't have that. But then again, the movie The Day After Tomorrow, that was strictly a climatological thing. The magnetic field wasn't even part of that one.
Right.
And so if you take bits and pieces of all of this, I mean, let's blend 2012 and shoot, what's the Nicolas Cage movie? Knowing.
Oh, Knowing. Okay.
Yeah, if you blend 2012 and Knowing, you start to get really close. But there's, I mean, for example, in 2012,
I forgot about that one.
In 2012, I think that the issue was neutrinos from the sun heating up the core. Complete freaking nonsense.
Oh, which movie?
2012.
Oh, 2012.
Yeah, in 2012, it was, you know, neutrinos. And by the way, a neutrino goes through the entire Earth without even hitting an atom. You know, they're that tiny. Like they'll literally thread through the Earth without ever hitting anything at all. But yeah.
Right. So you think Hollywood, they kind of know something and they're giving us bits and pieces?
Yeah. I would say that's a pretty good way to put it.
All right. So let's jump back over to what should people be doing for their prep and a little bit on the timeline. So here's, again, I showed this picture last time. This is the general timeline of when things are more likely to happen. Everything I talk about is, of course, probabilistic, as you guys know, because I do trading content and I don't know which direction stocks or Bitcoin is going to move. It's all probabilistic. And I guess the most important thing is right here on how to protect yourself. Stay away from the cities, stay away from the ocean, stay away from fault lines, stay away from volcanoes, be at high elevation and have underground potential.
Yeah.
Anything you've added to this list since then?
No, I would say that that's pretty good. I've started discussing this in terms of 3 key points, so I didn't have to list all these things. So the first one is avoid the dumb mistakes, which is you're in a big city. You live at the beach. You live on the San Andreas Fault. You live in Hawaii, where every island is a volcano, you know, and you're close to the ocean. So avoid the big mistakes. And then number 2, it's a sort of like a tsunami risk or safety score. It's take your elevation in feet, your distance to the ocean in miles. And are they looking at that right now?
Yep.
Fantastic. I mean, this pretty much says it all right here. You want that number to be as high as possible. I'm very happy that Observer Ranch has a tsunami risk score of about 6,000. Feel pretty good about that. And then the third one is, ask yourself this: if you lost power today and the world basically ended, like the power didn't come back on, so there's no heat, there's no air conditioning, there's no store, there's no gas station, it's just you living like a caveman, and the weather is slightly more extreme than it is right now, would you survive there? And if the answer is yes, fantastic.
Yeah, so we're gonna zoom out the map here a little bit, so you guys have an idea. We're over here. Yeah, I've been to a lot of places.
What in the world is all of that?
Where I've been. Keep track of places. Well,
you travel a lot more than I do. I don't leave the country.
Yeah, you have good reasons for that, by the way. It's kind of you feel that it's already getting a little dangerous to be on an airplane.
A little bit. I'm also afraid they won't let me back in.
Yeah.
I was more afraid of that during the Biden years.
That's true.
I'll say that. I was a little more afraid of that during the Biden years.
But I was ready to live outside the country. You need to stay here.
Yeah, you need to stay here.
So where I was going next was, oh, by the way, when I did post this from our last video, one of my engineer friends was like laughing, how are you adding miles to feet? And the answer is, well, if each mile is in distance is 5,000 less times important as a foot of elevation, they kind of merge. Exactly.
And it actually is kind of shocking that an engineer wouldn't understand the logic of this, because
1 foot is 5,000 times more important than your distance from the ocean. 1 foot.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I saw it. And okay. And right here, so this is basically the timeline for awareness and preparation. I thought this was great. Ben shared it on one of his short 3-minute videos every morning. I took a screenshot and I'm like, okay, so here you go. So right now is prepping time, and hopefully you have enough time to prep up until 2030. And we are exiting. So this was the really, really good one, because this is the part that's probably hardest to explain. I'll let you explain it. The solar kill and EMP shot, the technological solar kill shot.
Right.
It's not going to kill the humans. Humans are going to kill themselves when the solar kill shot kills the technology.
Right. So, you know, it is pretty common knowledge that every 150 to 200 years, the sun throws a solar flare at us that is big enough to basically take out the global grids. The last time the United States government commissioned a study on this, they predicted that the next time it happens, if it, you know, actually does hit Earth with any kind of severity, 90% of our species could be gone in 6 months, simply due to the lack of infrastructure. I mean, we lose the ability to purify water and distribute it to homes.
There was literally a scientific study on this.
There was a scientific study.
You remember what it was called?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But they were presenting it at the 2014 Space Weather Enterprise Forum in Washington, when literally the top guys were like, we are so not prepared for this. And so there's no fresh water, there's no water distribution. Within 24 hours, there's no food at the store, there's no internet, no 911, no heat, no air conditioning, no gas stations, no ATMs, no credit cards, no banking in general. And everybody just hungry, thirsty, and ready to do whatever to save themselves and their family. That's basically back to Viking life. You know, it's brutal, and that's why they said this is going to happen. Now,
is that it? That we're familiar to?
I think that's about an EMP attack from another country.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, stuff like that, it's not useless, you know. I mean, look, that's an interesting one, but I'm actually not sure that's even talking about the same thing, because that's about 1.5 years after the conference I went to in DC. But
it was 2015, yeah.
Yeah, but the point is that we're 166 years past the last such event that happens every 150 to 200 years. And so that would mean we are in the danger zone for it to happen again.
1859?
1859, the Carrington event.
I forgot.
And so the thing is, not only are we in the danger zone for that, but because Earth's magnetic field is weakening, it's not going to take that to produce the kind of damage that we're worried about. Now, of course, back in 1859, it's not like we had an electro-dependent society. There was telegraph wires, and that's about all. But the telegraph wires caught fire. The machines caught fire. The operators got shocked. Before the machines caught fire, they unplugged them because they were sparking. And even after they unplugged them, messages were still coming and going, because there was plenty of electricity ambiently right there just for them to remain powered on. And so we're getting to the point where every little notch that Earth's magnetic field weakens, it's going to take less and less and less from the sun. In fact, I think that it would already, you know, I mean, if, let's say, you know, rather than use the scales that would require people to do more homework, at this point, it might only take 60 to 70% of what happened in 1859 to produce the same kind of scary results. So what happens if we lose another 10% of Earth's magnetic field? Maybe it'll only take 50%. And so at some point, before the full flip of the magnetic field and before all of the other scary stuff, Earth's magnetic field is going to be so weak that pretty much any little blip from the sun is going to take out global power. And at that point, even though the worst of the worst hasn't happened yet, prepping is over, travel is over, the world has basically ended, and you got what you got for the duration.
I'm actually surprised there hasn't been too many documentaries or even like a Hollywood film about this day.
You know, they were planning to make one, something like that. I know because they interviewed me about it back in, I think, 2013. But I mean, we're 12 years past that and the movie hasn't come out. I don't even remember who I was talking to at this point. But obviously that didn't get made. So,
and this was another interesting event, the year without a summer. I think it was 1816.
yeah, I think that was a volcanic.
It was a volcanic eruption, but it was basically winter all summer long in the United States because of a volcano on the other side of the world.
Correct.
We haven't had any of these style.
Was that Tambora?
Tambora.
Oh, it's right there on your screen.
Yeah, it's right there. On Tambora. Good memory.
Yeah, I do sometimes. I'll admit,
there was a book about this.
I'll get Tambora and Krakatoa mixed up.
Yeah,
I will. It happens unless I'm looking right at it.
Krakatoa was thousands of years ago, though. And you're saying Italy has one of the worst volcanoes right now.
Campi Flegrei is by far the most terrifying volcano on the planet right now. It has the power to completely level the southern half of Europe and the northern tier of Africa. And it would basically cool the northern hemisphere by several degrees within days, just days. Campi Flegrei is showing signs that it is rumbling to life.
How do you spell that?
CAMPI space FL.
Oh, it's right on the coast too. No, that's the town. Where's the
No, I mean, this is the caldera.
Oh, geez, this thing right here?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And so it's not good. It's not good if this thing goes. And there are actually some people who think that the whole, like the even bigger area right there is where it is. And so if this thing goes, first of all, pretty much everyone in Italy's dead. I mean, we're talking Vesuvius times 1,000. And, you know, the entire Eastern Bloc, they're buried in 20 to 50 feet of ash within hours. And so of all of the scary volcanoes that are capable of that, you know, Santorini just next door in Greece, pretty scary. Taupo in New Zealand, that one's, I think, third or fourth on my, I'd have to go check the list, see if anything's changed. But of all of the worst and the scary ones, Campi Flegrei is the only one where there's significant ground movement. There are earthquake swarms, and they're not normal earthquakes. They're harmonic tremors. They're indicative of magma movement and magma filling the chamber. And so I don't think we get through this cycle event without Campi Flegrei completely destroying this part of the world that's on your screen right now.
Oh, yeah, because people did ask during my stream earlier with Kat, are they safe in the Alps? And, well, maybe. That's a big maybe because of the volcanoes in that area.
So maybe, but, you know, I have actually come to say, I mean, these are the Carpathian Mountains right there. I've come to believe that those are probably, those should probably have been initially added to the list. And they're probably in a better position than the yellow area that I had previously put down there, and maybe even over in the Spain area. But
how come you didn't mark the Alps?
The issue there is the difficulty of
survival with no electricity there.
The difficulty of survival with no electricity, and the fact that the sloshback or the initial tsunami, it could absolutely ride up over the Alps, you know, and just because
we're moving downwards in this direction.
Right. And so whether it's the Mediterranean or the sloshback of the North Sea, the Alps, even though they're higher than the Carpathians, they're at a much greater risk because of geography.
Right.
And so
well, those of you in Australia, if you can survive the Australian desert for up to 10 years, you'll be okay, but good luck with that.
Yeah,
and,
now that was for just the tsunami safety. That wasn't taking everything else into consideration. And I had a whole bunch of people who were like, dude, do you have any idea what the center of Australia was like? And I was like, yes, but this video is just, is the wave going to hit me or not? Like, I wasn't taking everything into account. The whole point of the video was just the wave. So,
and this, you believe, is the safest place in the world, this arch?
I would say it's a tie between that and the Mongolian mountains. But for most of the people who are likely to be watching your show, what you gonna do? You gonna move to Mongolia,
right?
Or you can come to Colorado with me? So
now, myself as a Russian speaker, I would think the Lake Baikal area is going to be pretty good if you can survive those winters over here.
as long as you're not too close to Lake Baikal, because I mean, the lakes are going to slosh too.
Yeah, it's a pretty deep lake. It's just not very wide. But like over here somewhere, you're pretty good.
Maybe I can say I don't know as much about that area, but I mean, look, the area that you're pointing to there, how far away is that really from the Mongolian mountains?
No, it's not.
I mean,
They're
it's
right
we're talking basically about the same area of Earth.
And after the Earth tilts 90 degrees, this goes pretty close to the equator. So you end up in a good spot if you can survive these winters for a while with no electricity.
Yeah, if you can survive it, sure.
Because that's the trade-off, right? And this is where we're going back to this chart right here of, and I was pulling this up. So we might have passed the worst part of this solar flare cycle, the 11-year solar cycle.
We are probably on the downturn in terms of sunspots and solar flares. But one thing that everybody forgets this.
We're weakening the field.
That and the geomagnetic maximum is in the declining phase of the cycle. And here's why. There are many more coronal hole streams in the declining phase of the cycle. So even though there are fewer sunspots, even though there are fewer solar flares and CMEs, fewer doesn't mean zero. That doesn't happen until you get to the very bottom of the trough. When you're still in the declining phase, there will still be sunspots, there will still be some solar flares and CMEs. It's just that the chances that those are going to be right ahead of or right on the heels of a coronal hole stream for a, the 1-2 punch, they go way up in the declining phase of the cycle because you pretty much have coronal hole streams all the time.
And looking at the sun over the last couple of days,
that's a big coronal hole.
That is a big coronal hole because the sun's polarity is flipped.
I might be off by one place, but my best guess is that is the 5th biggest coronal hole that has ever been caught on satellite.
How dangerous is this for us right now?
Luckily, the biggest part of it is so far south, and Earth basically.
We're like up here somewhere.
No, we're basically at the sun's equator.
Okay.
But right now, so it's just that tiny, thin little strip. If you want to show them that, it's just that's the only part that's actually hitting us, and that actually started hitting us yesterday. It's causing a minor geomagnetic disturbance, but we are pretty lucky that the whole mass of that is not on the sun's equator, because we're talking then about an entire week of amplified solar wind. And it would just take even a moderate little flare in CME to cause a pretty significant geomagnetic storm, because, even if you've got a super powerful solar flare in CME, it is hard to take out power grids with just one shot. But that 1-2 punch is always vastly more effective. It's not additive or even multiplicative. It's an exponential rise, logarithmic of exactly how much power is actually entering the Earth system when it's a 1-2 punch.
Any other of these you want me to pull up so you can discuss?
Not at the moment. There's an interesting looking plasma filament, but we'd have to go right back to that, or the bronze and the gold one there. If you look up there, I don't know if you were able to zoom in on that at all, but that's a pretty big plasma filament, and I don't like the angle of it. Okay. If the tail, so
let's play this again.
Yeah, if the back part of that giant plasma filament releases at some point in the next 72 hours, it has an excellent chance of being launched right at Earth. After that, if the whole thing lifts together for another 48 hours, it will come directly at the Earth. And you're talking about moons worth of mass, but not as rock, not as liquid, as highly energetic solar plasma. And so that'll probably be one of the top watches, one of the things I'm watching over the next 3, 5, 7 days, just to see how that thing behaves as it's turning in to face the Earth.
So let me ask you this question. So when these solar flares are coming at us, are you safer at the equator or are you safer at higher latitudes?
It depends on what you're.
I mean, you're safest if your body is in good shape and you have a good well-being. I don't want to brush on that at the end of the video.
So technology is more at risk under the electrojets, and the electrojets are at very high latitude and at the actual equator. Technology is safest at mid latitudes. In terms of like the human health effect, because solar storms affect your cardiac system, they affect you psychologically, they affect autoimmune diseases, seizures, migraines, tons of stuff. Those are global effects pretty much, because it is a global induction. It's the entire Earth's magnetic field. A way of thinking of it is, if you're in an Olympic-sized swimming pool and you're like up against one of the walls, it doesn't matter if lightning hits your chest or lightning hits the other side of the swimming pool. You're dead at that moment, And so from a health perspective, when we get hit by the sun, it is a globally effective electromagnetic change and a globally effective induction.
Gotcha. All right. So back to the potential for that solar kill shot. We are on the decline from the perspective of solar spots.
Probably.
If we can make it into 2028,
if we can,
we're in good shape for a few years.
I would say we have at least, if we can make it through most of the declining phase, I'd say that we will probably be able to make it until at least the mid-2030s before we lose civilization from the sun. There's no accounting for the idiots running this planet.
Oh, yeah.
But
right. So this is the historical sunspot cycle. And you see that the sun goes through. We did pretty good last time.
We did, but what's interesting, even though we've had sunspot cycles that are vastly bigger than this, do you mind? You want to pull it back to like there? So you can see the cycles that we had last time and this time, they're not big comparatively to some of the ones we've had in the past. They were much bigger.
We can go back to the Carrington event, which would have been up here.
Yeah.
Up here, actually.
Yeah. We are seeing record aurora. And we're seeing it without record solar activity. And it's because as Earth's weakening magnetic field continues weakening, less and less and less and less is able to do more and more because our shield is weakening. I mean, it's the kind of thing where if you get punched in the face by Mike Tyson, you expect to fall over and get knocked out. But what happens if it's a 4-year-old girl that punches you in the face? If you lose all your teeth and you get knocked out and you're on the ground, you might say, what the heck's wrong with me? And the answer with the aurora, which is the version of the punch that we're getting right now, is there is something wrong with us, our planet, and that's our shield against the sun. It's Swiss cheesing, it's weakening. And so we are seeing less and less and less do more and more and more from the sun. And that is at some point going to hit a level where it just throws us back to the Stone Age, which is bad enough because of all the things I mentioned before.
Right.
And then we get to wait for the solar micronova, the magnetic pole shift, which takes out the ozone, causes a rapid increase in cosmic ray radiation incident on the surface, the Earth turning like this, the great tsunamis. And so there are several stages to this. I mean, there's the now, the clown world. There's whenever the sun takes out power, in which case we're basically just thrown back into the Stone Age. There's the main event where we've got the extra radiation, the magnetic pole shift, and all of those other things. And then there's the after, the next stage of Earth, where, okay, things are back to normal, except all of our technology, most humans, and almost all of the knowledge and skills to rebuild the world are gone. We're literally starting from scratch.
Yep. And so here's the timeline, guys. Take a screenshot, check it out. If we make it past 2028, the sun is not going to be as active. When it becomes active again after 2032, our magnetic shield might only be at 50% strength.
It could be. It could be by that point.
And it becomes a bit of a problem. So we're enjoying the Bitcoin price rise while we can. but I will be recommending exiting at the highs more than you otherwise would. Yeah, Ben obviously makes fun of me for the Bitcoin stuff. You're not planning to save anything with the that would be powered up one day. You're more concerned of how do we teach people to plant seeds when it's all over.
Exactly. And I can guarantee you this, at some point, almost certainly 99% before 2050, all crypto is going to zero because of this. And it's not like it's going to be a market crash. It's going to be, there's no electricity. You're not going to be able to even access it. Like your Bitcoin wallet.
But the same goes for banks and the US dollar.
Absolutely,
it's all the same.
100% correct on that. You can't differentiate between a dollar bill in your hand at that point and, you know, a crypto on your wallet. They're both useless. So
bullets become very good currency.
You know, you make a good point, because I don't want people to think I am just crapping on Bitcoin, because that's definitely not what I meant by that at all. Although I could see how it came out that way. But yeah,
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, well, fantastic.
That's why I corrected. I mean, or clarified. Okay, so we got a couple of questions, and then I want to close out on the physical and the spiritual side.
Fantastic.
Of how to manage it. Winston, thanks so much for doing some questions. If this theory is correct, why is there no saltwater lakes everywhere? And why wouldn't the freshwater die off along with other animals?
So I don't think that Michael knows how many saltwater lakes there are. There are quite a bit. Most of them would have dried up. And don't forget, in the days and weeks following this, the rains will be Noah level worldwide, pretty much for days, weeks on end. That's going to wash a lot of it back into the ocean. It's going to saturate it down deeper into the soil, distribute it even more. But yeah, I think the first part of our answer is the fact that there's a lot more salt lakes in the world than I think he's aware of. But yeah, all right. So, and
also there's all those dry salt beds where that salt's coming from.
The ones that have dried up. The ones
like
that have
the
dried
salt
up.
that you're eating, the Himalayan pink salt, Baja Gold, which is my favorite salt, real salt.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
you know, there are a lot of them. A lot of them have dried up, and a lot of it has been diluted and washed back into the ocean or washed down deeper into the soil by the unfathomable amount of rain, or covered up by dust and other things blowing around over time. Lightning and EM pulse shouldn't affect or alter grid frequency. I'm not sure where he's. I'm not sure what he's. I mean, apart from the grammatical issues, I do kind of understand what he's trying to say, and I don't mean to be a jerk, but that's plainly false. Like, that's absolutely wrong. And it's not lightning. It's not an electromagnetic pulse. It is a continent-sized induction of electric current, amplification of the global electric circuit, amplification of ambient electricity in the atmosphere, vibrations of the magnetic field from the ULF to the VHF range. We're talking about several things happening all at once. And by the way, if you've got a power grid, any part of it that gets actually hit by lightning, I assure you that will break. So, yeah.
All right, well, let's move on.
What will happen to the global south?
Becomes the global north.
Well, I mean, it depends on what he's asking about. If he's asking about climatologically due to something like the day after tomorrow, or if he's asking about in the greater disaster, I think that probably is asking about, okay, we were talking about how rapidly things would cool in the northern hemisphere. The global south follows by 6 to 18 months, and the exact same thing happens. There's no getting around it. Things are too connected.
Let me. You have a round object over there somewhere. So we did this on our last stream. So basically, I didn't talk about it this time. We kind of brushed it off like everyone knows what we mean. But in the next 10 years, the expectation is a solar flare knocks out our electric grid. Then sometime, best guess, late 2030s into 2040s, there will be a solar micronova that releases the crust from the mantle. And the crust, it's called crustal displacement theory. So if this is our planet,
but it's definitely not the Charles Hapgood version.
I heard about that one like over a decade ago, actually. Our planet would turn, or the crust on the planet would, it's the same thing as the planet turning if you're on top of the crust. It's the same thing. Oh, that's cool, actually.
Yeah.
It would turn somewhere between 75 and 115 degrees. Average 90 degrees. So if you're sitting here at 45-degree latitude, like New York is, but you got a tsunami problem there, like Colorado is at about 42 latitude, you're going to end up at about 48 latitude on the other side, on the south. So hopefully it's more like 75 degrees, so you're a little bit warmer when it's over, than 115 degrees, and then it's like Norway, but on the other, like on the other side of the world.
Right.
So nobody knows where it would stop, and that entire tilt might happen in one day.
That's what the U.S. government, the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services, the precursor to the CIA, the Rand Corporation, and Project Nanook determined back in the late 2040s, early 2050s, that with this magnetic pole shift, you get a geographic shift of about 90 degrees, and it happens in one day. And that's what's classified. And thank God Major Maynard E. White basically took all of that information and gave it to his son, Ken, for the book World in Peril. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, there it is. I was looking for Adam and Eve story.
You know, the Adam and Eve story is not bad, but Chan Thomas made considerable errors. World in Peril by Ken White. This is the book right here. This not only has the documents from the Pentagon, from the OSS, CIA, from the Rand Corporation. If those of you who don't know what the Rand Corporation is, they're basically the Pentagon and the CIA's little lab.
My audience knows what.
Oh, okay.
They should know.
Fantastic.
I should know what the Rand Corporation is.
In addition to taking all of the now classified stuff, and you know, technically Major White committed treason, but we're really lucky he did. You know, in giving this to his son to publish in this book. Not only do they have the whole, okay, it's a magnetic pole shift and a geographic one, and it happens in one day, but they also found that, hey, underneath the polar fossils in the Arctic, there's the tropical fossils as well, meaning that indeed their math and their scientific model was correct, that just about 12,000 years ago, the Arctic was tropical. It was in the tropics, which explains the mammoths, which explains how you get the global tsunamis. You were in Alaska recently. Did you visit the boneyard while you were there?
No. Should have.
I mean,
where was it actually?
That surge deposit in Alaska that those boneyard folks are all about, that's from the tsunami. 100%, no doubt. And it's not the only one either. There are plenty of these surge deposits. And it's interesting, a lot of people try to blame it.
I was in Fairbanks. No, I wasn't near Fairbanks. Thank God. Otherwise, I'd feel like an asshole that I didn't go there. Yeah.
I wish we were only going back to the 1700s.
Basically, we're going back to the 1700s, mid 1800s living.
I really wish it was just that. And at first, maybe it will be. The problem is there are not the systems in place to maintain the knowledge, to keep people learning, to keep advancing. Too many of the people are going to die. Too many of the books are going to be lost. The entirety of the internet is going to be lost. And there's going to be far more important things like growing food, hunting food, figuring out how to build shelter, you know, dealing with marauders like in the movie The Road, you know, Mad Max situation. There's going to be far more important things than trying to gather that knowledge, trying to build technology. I mean, if that's what you spend all your time doing, you are screwed in the next stage of Earth. So
why are we building all these robots and electric cars and Bitcoin?
So one, not everybody knows what's going on. Two, they want us as electro-dependent as humanly possible. They want us fat, dumb, sick, dependent, basically slaves, so that when this happens, most of us die. And it might be hard to imagine that the most powerful, successful people in the world hate us. And not all of them do, but enough of them do, and enough of them don't have all of the pieces of the puzzle that we are left with what we have today. That's a fair question. It's a fair question.
Sir Lion, thank you so much. You found both of us independently.
So it's sirloin steak. That's a heck of a name. Thought we was spinning sideways. I don't even know where to go with
we're going to keep spinning.
We are going to
keep.
Not
going to change.
We do keep spinning. It's just that there is a tilt as well. All right. Spanish Chicken's comment is theory, someone's opinion, not necessarily any facts at all. I don't say anything on opinion. It is backed by math and peer-reviewed scientific literature. Thousands of papers. It's what my books are about. In the videos I have on this, I show you the papers. Why do I do that? Why do I do that? For fun? No, it's because I'm a human. Therefore, I am currently classified as untrustworthy. So I need to give you the resources for you to check this yourself so you don't make comments like
we
that.
do love the sun. I was in the sun all morning. We also respect the sun. There's a big difference.
Yeah. How can I short solar cycle progression with leverage?
As a friend of mine, he's a trader.
That's one of the funniest things I've read in a really long time. I would like to meet that person.
Good job, Crypto Comments.
That's funny. That's funny.
He lives down in Argentina.
It's also, not only is that funny, it's intelligent. Like you can't be dumb and write that comment.
Yeah.
Well done, man.
Good job, Crypto Comments. Can you survive on the ocean vessel?
Yes, it is possible, especially if you know how to fish and other stuff like that.
It has to be a big vessel.
It would have to be a big vessel. We probably shouldn't go too much into that.
Yeah,
but
it also has to be protected. Like if a giant tree hits it, or like if an Air Force carrier runs into it in the middle of the ocean, is it going to handle that?
Yeah, and what you
that's
have
what
to
they did in
realize
2012. They were under the water in their vessels.
Yeah, and here's the thing: you might need to understand that your engine's not going to work after that. But other than that,
you got to have a big sail. Well, there's going to be hurricane winds as well. There's going to be a lot to deal with in the ocean. But no matter where you are, you should have like a Noah's Ark ready to float, just in case. It lifts you up.
Yeah.
Jack Dorsey, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, he's building like a MASH network, but that's technology. That's not gonna.
I mean, that sounds really interesting. I'm not into this stuff, so this is the first I'm hearing of that. I'm presuming that's the Jack Dorsey that used to own Twitter.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the same one.
This seems really cool, but it is technology. It won't work either. It's not going to be based. I mean, literally everything electronic is going to fry when this happens. Incorrect, Castiglione. And this is the one that really, because here's the thing. Before April of 22, the question is, I mean, a solar micronova doesn't happen on a regular star like our sun, just on white dwarfs. Well, I'm glad that you're the mainstream's DICK like that. But before April 2022, I was a crazy moron for even suggesting that micronova were real. It wasn't until April of 2022 that they finally admitted, oh, yeah, micronova are a thing. And guess what? They told us they know everything about nova science back in 2011. Since then, they have discovered 9 new kinds of nova. They have seen those nova going off on no less than 7 different kinds of stars that they had previously thought were impossible. In terms of the recurrent nova, they thought it could only happen in a binary system where one is sucking material off the other, until they discovered the star that went through a molecular cloud. And they found the cavities going through the cloud, boom, boom, boom. Basically going pop. All you need to have this happen. Oh, and by the way, that was a yellow hypergiant, not a white dwarf. All you need, any type of star, is to dump material onto the star, and it can sneeze. Please take the mainstream's DICK out of your mouth, because you're talking about, oh, they only happen on white dwarfs. Well, guess what? Before April 2022, everybody said a micronova is not even a real thing, and I was a crazy moron for saying they were. So ease up, Castiglione, because it's stuff like this that has let me make NASA, the Harvard Center for Astrophysics, and astronomers worldwide look stupid. It's the reason I have a career, because people just tell me that's impossible, that's impossible. And then 6 to 24 months later, breaking discovery. Look what these genius astronomers has found. Nobody could have ever imagined this existed before. And I'm sorry that I'm picking on you so hard, but I am so sick of, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
I'm so sick of horse shit like that, Castiglione. The reason I have a career, the reason why dozens of NASA scientists and professors are in my inbox every week, the reason why my textbook sitting right over there is used in several universities, this one, is because I have made a career of making people who say things like that look stupid. Please don't join that club, Castiglione. Por favor.
You want to talk about August Dunning real quick?
What would you like to know about Dr. August Dunning?
Just mention to my audience.
Sure.
I got his book on fasting.
Dr. August Dunning is absolutely fantastic.
I tried downloading this, but it's kind of MP4 came down and not a PDF. So
that's unfortunate. So Dr. August Dunning, former professor at Caltech, former NASA JPL. Since he is now retired and doesn't have to worry about grant money or losing tenure or anything like that, he took a look at the entire thing and he was like, oh God, we are going to have a solar micronova. The Earth is going to turn over like this. The same thing that dozens of other NASA scientists and professors across the world are now too afraid still to talk about in public. He's one of the only ones who isn't afraid to talk about it in public. Wouldn't there be animal die-offs everywhere?
Yes.
There would be a lot of them. There are plenty of papers. In fact, Michael Poplar, if you go to my channel, Space Weather News, and you watch my morning show from today, I show you 4 fantastic papers describing the rise in extinctions every time we have one of these events. It doesn't kill the whole world, but there are surges of extinctions every time we have one of these events, and you can feel free to just look at any of the papers. You can find them yourself there.
So here's my question. So how do like large roaming animals survive? Like how do cows survive?
That's a fantastic question. Here's the issue. I think they are, first of all, if something is widespread enough, I mean, not every part of the world gets completely jacked up. I mean, last cycle, North America got absolutely pounded, but much of Africa and Asia did not. 3 cycles ago, Africa and Europe was so badly hit that most of the megafauna that were left after that event had to migrate from Asia and other places. It's a third, a quarter to a third of the world takes a real big pounding. And the rest of the world, it's like, it's just bad. It's not devastating, it's bad. In fact, one of the papers from this morning, the Channel and Vigliotti one from 2019, it goes back through time, cycle by cycle by cycle, and says, these are the animals that died in this one. This is where they were living. These are the animals that died in this one. This is where they were living. And so this is not like Chicxulub 65 million years ago where something happens and kills most of the planet. This is something in between that, which is, I think, the best answer to that question.
Someone is curious about your investments?
No. I have no stocks. I have no crypto.
Cape Town. Too close to the water. I've been to Cape Town.
Like Cape Town,
South
Africa?
Yeah, the tip of South Africa.
No. No. Move. Move. And a little further away than Durban, please. That ain't gonna do it.
It wasn't reliable.
It wasn't rage bait, really, but still, even if a micronova would be possible, the probability must be extremely low. Castiglione, instead of talking, how about you actually do the homework? I have laid it out for you with all of the papers, all of the math, all of everything. Stop doing this and start thinking, start reading, start listening. You cannot possibly hope to on something before you've even looked at it.
Yeah, Ben does reference several scientific journals about micronova and other evidence. I have this disaster cycle playlist. It's referenced in the video description. All right, We're gonna close out on a good note. Is how are we gonna maintain our carnivore diet if we're too busy planting seeds? What's your plan for making sure there's enough animals to eat? Because we're both carnivores. I'm back on a workout routine, and you talk about this. You don't talk about it in detail, but my next interview with you is I'm going to be doing a bunch of health videos, guys, on health and wellness. And next time I bring Ben on, we're not even going to talk at all about the disaster cycle. We're going to talk about health and wellness, physical and mental.
Are you going to show them that picture?
I
when we
could
do that. Jesus.
More toned now. There it is.
I'm way more jacked and shredded than that right now. But that was me 10 years ago on the left, about as fat as she could possibly be. And at this point, I'm 40 years old. I'm 170 pounds. I'm not taking my shirt off, but you can see my six pack. It's shredded like wild. I have a couple more tattoos than that now, and I don't quite have the beard. But
you actually look younger.
I do look younger, but that's because of the golden triangle of decreasing visible age, along with stopping the intake of stuff that makes you look older. So, I mean, like I quit smoking cigarettes. I don't really drink anymore. And then the golden triangle of looking younger. I'm sure these people want to hear this, right?
They actually do.
Get enough collagen, get red light regularly, and do lymphatic drainage of the face. You can Google all of that stuff, by the way. I'm not going to explain it. Collagen, red light, lymphatic drainage.
Food?
What about it?
Your diet?
My diet?
Yeah.
Steak, eggs, water.
Butter.
Well, it depends on if I'm a bulking cycle or a cutting cycle. You know, if I'm on a cutting cycle, it's sirloin and fish. If I'm on a bulking cycle, it's ribeye and eggs, you know?
Drinks, anything other than water and sparkling water?
Every once in a while I'll have a protein shake, but that's because, you know, I can't always just be cooking. I mean, think about yesterday. I had to wake up. I had to start driving down to the ranch at 7 a.m. I didn't get back home until almost 6, you know? I drank a protein shake on the way there and I drank one on the way back. Sometimes you can't be sitting there dialed in front of your kitchen with everything. You just got to do the best that you can.
Thoughts on supplements?
In addition to all the regular vitamins and stuff.
Like what, D?
I mean, all of the regular multivitamins for sure. But in addition to that, I'm pretty big on DHEA. If anybody knows what DHEA is, they call that hormonal support, which it is, but it also just keeps you looking younger. It really, really, really does. Most people aren't getting enough, for men in particular, you're not getting, almost nobody's getting enough vitamin D, vitamin K, and magnesium, the things that support testosterone production. Zinc as well. Zinc's, I knew I was forgetting one. Thank you. The other thing is sleep has to be dialed in. If your sleep is crap.
I just started tracking mine.
If your sleep is crap, you can't build muscle. You can't lose weight because your cortisol's through the freaking roof. Sleep is as important as everything else. I mean, it's interesting when it comes to getting your body in great shape. It's only 25% what you do in the gym. 25% of it is your sleep, and half of it is what you eat. Yep. You know, so.
All right, guys, that's a good way to close out. I will answer one more question.
I cannot believe you showed that picture.
Yeah. And the question is, of course, on the Adirondacks. As you can see, I mean, this is a little bit exaggerated, but the Adirondacks are just not high enough because this tilt is set to go into the Atlantic.
Yeah.
If it was going in the other direction, you'd have a shot maybe up here, but it's too much risk. The Great Lakes are coming down. The Gulf is coming up. And if we start turning this way, it's just the water will just get in between the Adirondacks.
I can't even begin to imagine the Appalachians or the Adirondacks or anything over there going well. Maybe if the tsunami was going to be a little worse, or I mean, a little like smaller, there's no evidence for that. But if it was going to be half the size, maybe the Blue Ridge Mountains outside of Penn State, in the middle of Pennsylvania, maybe, or maybe some of the peaks of the Appalachians a little bit further south. But again, there is no evidence that anything like that is what's happening. So,
all right, guys, we're going to go ahead and end it here. Ben, thank you so much for
it's good to see you
welcoming
again.
me back.
Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, I'll be back here. I don't know if I'll be back this year, but I'll definitely be back next year. I am looking at this area for a potential investment in a prepper home. I guess you can call it that. Different type of prepping, but still prepping. And it is something I'm taking seriously. Now, here's the other thing. One last thing. So there's two ways to go about it. Because you don't know the time, there's no way to assume how much time there'll be between the solar kill shot of technology and the actual death ray coming down with the Micronova and pole flip. I am strongly considering finding a beautiful, small tropical island where you don't have to fight for survival in the up to 10 years and just wait for the tsunami. Catching fish, enjoying fresh water all the time, lots of fruit, small island where you can easily defend yourself, because with no electricity, not many pirates are going to be coming down, and it's defendable. What are your thoughts on that way to ride it out?
The problem with that is it sounds like a lone wolf scenario. And what happens if you get sick? What happens if you twist an ankle?
No, you'd have a community there like you have a community here, but the community fully understands that they're not surviving the solar micronova, but they won't have to, go hunt animals in the Colorado winter either.
I hear what you're saying. I think that's a tough sell for people. If you can pull that off, more power to you. More power to you. But But it is
a different way to look at it.
It certainly is. For most people, the network is the hardest thing. I have a cheat code because I basically talk to the people every single day who would be part of that. And that's what we've got at Observer Ranch. That's why people were like, hey, wait a minute. Everybody that is going there knows exactly what's happening. I want to join that community. That's how I put it together in less than a year. I honestly don't know how other people would do that. I have no idea. Like, what's your sales pitch? I mean, for me, it was, hey, you guys know the stuff I talk about all the time. We're doing something about it. And that was my sales pitch.
Right.
I mean, how do you talk to people about this? How do you build that network? And you can't even just go to homesteaders or normal preppers, because the ways you have to prep specifically for what's happening here are not what's in their head. And trying to get people who are already open-minded and self-directed enough that they're homesteaders or they're preppers to just listen to you, that's hard. That's hard. I have watched people try to set up these networks for years and just fail because they can't get on the same page about what's needed.
Yeah. And I didn't mention it as part of the interview for the documentary. It's disappointing not a lot of young people come out here. It's mostly their parents.
Yeah. It's, and here's the thing, like, try to think back to when you were 19, or 22. When I was 19 or 22, I didn't care what was going on. All I cared about was, what I had to do for me, and then what I could get from girls. That was all I cared about when I was 20. So, I mean, it is a shame, but I get it.
All right. Well, the half-an-hour interview lasted an hour 20. I got to get going. I got to get on an airplane later tonight. Ben, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Awesome.
Bye,
everyone.